We are live, YouTube live. Matt the Mortgage Guy here to answer any and all your questions. I've actually got a list today of subscriber questions on YouTube. Had my team go through and scrub. I did my best for so long to get back to every single question every time I had one. Now with 100 a day, it's really an impossible task. So I had my team go in there and scrub, find the best questions out there, the things that people want to know. And so today I'm going to roll through, answer those questions from subscribers. I also want anybody who's joining live, fire away with questions. We've got a really, really interesting housing market. Things are changing every single day between prices and inventory and interest rates and all the other things related. There's no shortage of news or things to talk about. I actually had some notes from listening to the guys over at Altos Research, which do a great job just following the housing market and posting data that is trying to keep a finger on the pulse and kind of keep up with a rapidly changing market. That was one of the notes that I put in there, rapidly changing market. One thing they said, which I agree with, buyers have stopped cold. This latest, interest rate from, 5% in early August to 7%-ish early October, these last 2 months, these last 60 days, that has really, really put a big halt on demand on buyers, right? They talked about in Mike's latest video on Altos Research, which I'll link to below because I talk about it and I lean on their great info as one of my great resources for finding out information. I'll put a link in that below, but he talked about who's going to win the tug of war. And the tug of war that he's talking about, my understanding of it is buyers who want a deal where they're saying, hey, listen, you've been on the market for 45 days. I'm not going to pay $449. I'll give you $410. And sellers who in a lot of circumstances don't have to sell. I think there's a lot of sellers that came on the market and said, you know what? I've owned this investment property for 11 years. If I sold it now, I've got $250,000 in equity that I could pull out. Maybe I'll do it. So listed at $449. If they get $430 or $440, they're good. Somebody offers them $410, they're like, nah, I'll just continue to rent it, right? Rents are still high. And so there's a little bit of a tug of war going on in the market, which creates for interesting dynamic, if nothing else. Let me know if you're hearing me okay, because I've been having some trouble with audio, but I think we're all set. One more interesting thing, then I'll get into the questions too, is median price of newly listed homes, U.S. single family homes, $385,000. That number continues to go down. Caveat, between now and the end of the year, the median home price always goes down. What we're going to be interested to see, me along with others, is if it kind of goes down at a faster pace than normal, right? If it goes down 2% a month in an area that usually sees 1% decline per month for the last 4 months of the year, or whatever the case may be. So with all that being said, let me see if I can find, I had the team put these on the drive. Where did it go? Bear with me while I grab these questions, and maybe I will Google Drive. Oh, I know why I'm not finding it, because it's in my other emails. Man, I got me lots of emails. That's why email me is probably not the best way to get a hold of me. Because besides the fact that I got 800 emails in my MTMG email, I've probably got another 1,000 between these other emails. So if you want to get with me, it's best to do it through the team. GreatMortgageBroker.com. that would be the best way. And if you scream and shout, and if it's something that you need my personal help with, they know where to find me. All right, live stream questions. I want to pull this up because I actually I think it'd be cool to show the screenshots of these questions. And then obviously, anybody who's here live, fire away. Like this question right here. Should I buy at a 6.7 interest rate? I am a first-time home buyer. Here's what I will tell you, dream big. One, keep dreaming big. It's a good thing to do. And if you want to get inspiration for dreaming big, go subscribe to Get Better Everyday podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Do I have a link to my what a bad promoter, Get Better Everyday podcast. I'm gonna have a link to that soon. But in regards to your question, 6.7% interest rate. I'm a big believer in home ownership. You shouldn't be in a hurry to buy today because you got more options than ever. Most markets, you're gonna be able to negotiate with the seller. And with that negotiation power you have, you can get a seller credit that's going to pay for closing costs. You can get a seller credit that's going to buy down your interest rate. You can do what's called a 2-1 buy down. If you don't know what that is, check out the 2-1 buy down on my channel. I've got a video about it. Really, really a good product. So instead of a 6.7% interest rate, you get the seller to give you a seller concession, which pays for this buy down. You don't pay for any of it. 4.7% the first year, 5.7 the second year, and 6.7 years 3 through 30. I said this in private conversations today, so I'll say it out loud here. I will not promise anything, but it is my firm belief that as inflation comes down, and yes, it's going to come down. The next reading in October is not going to look sexy, but November, December, January, which reflects the year over year from Q4 of last year to Q4 of this year, where the Q4 numbers of 2021 were really high inflation-wise. When that inflation starts to come down, I believe that's going to have an effect on interest rates, going to pull down mortgage interest rates. And you know, we're not going to see 4% or 3% interest rates, but could we see them in the 5s or even in the 4s in 2023? I believe so. So anyhow, 4.7 the first year, 5.7 the second year, 6.7 for years 3 through 30. If you refinance in less than 24 months, where the sellers paid that concession to give you an interest rate reduction in years 1 and 2, whatever's left in seller concessions, you get credited back. So it's like paying up front for a lower rate. The seller pays it, and you get a refund if it's not all used. It doesn't get much better than that. Because if you went and paid 2 points today to lower the interest rate to 5.99%, and you refinanced 8 months from now, or 12 months from now, or 18 months from now, you wouldn't get any refund of the points you paid. That's just not how it works. In this scenario with the seller buy down, one of the great caveats of it is any unused seller concession gets credited back to you in the form of a principal reduction on your payoff when you refinance. So really cool. So yes, you should buy a house if you plan to stay on it 7+ years, and 6.7% interest rate does not mean you have to take a 6.7%. There's a lot of options available. Permanent rate buy down, or a temporary 2-1 buy down. Theo B, glad you're on here live, man. Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. Appreciate you following and your support. If you own rentals and you're trying to buy a primary home, do you need to have reserves for all the rental properties? Yes. When you're buying and you're using conventional loan, when you've got rental properties and they show up on that, rent schedule, the lender wants to see reserves for each property you own. That can be in the form of a 401k. It can be in the form of another retirement account. Again, reserves are just funds that are there in case you need them. And for anybody who doesn't know what reserves, what that term means, if Theo owns 3 investment properties and he's going to buy a new primary, they're going to take a certain number of reserves, meaning we'd like you to have 3 payments for each of these 3 properties, 1,800 times 3, 1,600 times 3, whatever that is, grand total $16,552 in the bank. In case something goes sideways and these rentals become vacant, we want to know that you're somewhat solvent. And so that $16,000 can be in an investment account, a retirement account, a savings account. You don't have to bring that cash to close. You have to have that reserve amount though. So the answer to your question, Theo, is yes. Lenders are going to want to see reserves. Jorge G, Realty, the market is crashing. What market are you in? What do you mean by crashing? And let's talk about it. I'd love to go into some crashing markets and get some great deals. Kevin Hawthorne, thanks for joining from Lakeland, Florida. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate seeing you here. Okay. Ryan Lundquist, a Sacramento legend. Thanks for joining, brother. Glad to have you here. All right. Thanks for subscribing to the podcast, Miss Taylor. I appreciate it. If I'm not going to promote this, who the heck is, right? I'm going to put the link here to the Get Better Every Day podcast. I'm pretty proud of it. I'm having a lot of fun talking to some really, really cool guests. And I've got some really cool ones lined up too. I've got some UFC fighters. I've got some billionaires. I got some cool ones coming, rest assured. So I put the link in the comments. There's the link there. Get Better Every Day. Business owners, athletes, entrepreneurs, investors. A lot of us are trying to get better every day. People are trying to be better at fatherhood. People are trying to be better at marriage. People are trying to be better with their health and their wealth and all kinds of stuff. So check that out. All right. Before I jump into these ones, I'll answer the live one since you guys took your time to be here live. Quick explanation. What's the difference between lender and broker? If you're a direct lender, think about like the State Farm and the Farmers. If somebody works for State Farm Insurance, they're selling all their insurance products, all their clients, a State Farm product. If you work for Farmers product. A broker is somebody who is working directly with wholesale lenders, United Wholesale Mortgage, Home Point, shout out Home Point, EPM, Caliber, and they're brokering wherever the deal makes the most sense. In general, and I can say this because there's data that supports this. Working with a broker, you're going to get a better deal, lower interest rate, less fees, to the tune of about $9,400 per deal. Like there's some data out there. The cat is out of the bag. So sorry, retail lenders. It's just the truth. And anybody who's wondering how, you guys are offering the same thing, right? A 30-year fix for somebody with a 740 credit score and 20% down. Why is one so much better than the other? Well, there's a lot of layers of management, a lot of, big brick commercial buildings that are being leased, and the CEO and executive vice presidents and account executives and all these people in between the loan originator and the loan being sold. So there's just more margin baked into those. That's the biggest difference. I don't know if I did it justice, but that's a quick little explanation. Sophia, how quickly can you refinance a 30-year conventional? I hear you need a certain amount of equity. If you're trying to do a rate and term refinance, the equity is lower. If you're trying to do a cash out refinance, where some people get confused, they're like, oh, I bought it for $510, it's worth $570, I'm gonna do a cash out refinance. Lenders are only going to go to 80% loan to value in most cases on a cash out refinance. So if you have a house worth $600,000, lender's not going to write a loan for more than $480,000. So sometimes I guess people get confused. We're like, I bought it, it went up $40,000. How do I do a cash out refinance and get that money out? So hopefully that answers your question. Let me get to some of these questions we got. As promised, some subscriber questions, and then fire off your questions in the comments. I will do my best to answer all of them. I will talk this fast for an hour straight. I'll have no voice left. It's all for the people. I appreciate anybody who joins. I appreciate all the questions. So that there is my promise. How do we do this? Share screen. And there it is. Let's see if we can see this. Okay, so this is basically my Google Drive where the team found some cool questions. So the first one is, how can you prepare for an appraisal, especially when you already know your home needs a lot of work, which is actually why you're trying to get a cash out refinance loan in the first place. We owe nothing on our home also. So thank you for the question, April Dawn Hull. Got some money signs on each end as bookmarks. I really like that. It's good. It's a good look. This is a really common question. It's a great question. People are always really concerned about how their house looks and whether it's, presentable, like they're holding an open house and they're trying to sell it. When you're getting an appraisal, 90% of the appraised value is really going to be what the appraiser can find in comparable sales, meaning what things in the neighborhood are selling for. And they're going to make adjustments up or down, right? If it's something that's brand new with all these bells and whistles, maybe they adjust it down, 10, 20,000 for your home because it doesn't have as many upgrades, right? But for the most part, if everything around you is selling between 580 and 620,000, that's where the appraisal is going to land. Just because you don't have the nicest furniture or your walls aren't freshly painted or things like that isn't going to affect value as much as what the comparable sales are. So I get it. Like the home needs a lot of work and you want to do a lot of stuff. As long as it's cosmetic, it's not going to really affect the value of the home. If it's really like health and safety, paint is peeling, walls are falling down, then, they could actually ask you to repair that before they're going to finalize their appraisal. But I wouldn't necessarily sweat it. The appraisal is more going to be based on comparable sales, which right now you've got the last 6 months of pretty nice comparable sales. As a lot of markets start to see some price decline, those numbers might start coming down. So if you're gonna do it, rather than take the time to try to clean it up or make it look nice, maybe you just get an appraiser out there while they still have got 3 to 6 months of some good comparables. Hopefully that helped. 2022 real estate prediction. What was it? Did I miss it? How much do you think prices will move down from now to the end of the year? It looks like this one was from a few months ago. And so this is really dependent on what market you're in, but I'll try to answer this as honestly as possible. Sacramento, the market that I live in, reside in all my glorious 42 years, we saw a humongous run up over the last couple of years as far as price is concerned. So we leveled off real quick. We got cold real quick. In a market like Sacramento, between this point in time right now and the end of the year, prices might decline by 3 to 5%. And some people are like, oh my gosh, prices are coming down. Well, from the peak of summer to the end of winter every year, guess what prices do? They come down. There is some seasonality with real estate, which we just happen to not have in 2020 and 2021 because of these crazy, steroid injections of demand, otherwise known as 2.5% 30-year fixed. Like those low interest rates injected so much demand into the market that like we had really strong winters where traditionally you can see home prices steadily go up and then they peak in the summertime and then they steadily come down and then they go up and they peak around summertime and they come down. Like that's how real estate works. And so if we go down 5% between now and the end of the year, maybe on an average year, we're down 3%. So like 5% is a little bit more than normal, but not anything you would consider like, oh my gosh, we're crashing. Hopefully that helped grown up gaming. Can you get a lower interest rate with a large down payment? Thanks. This is a really good question. I was actually on a call earlier talking to somebody about the difference between 15% down and 20% down. They were surprised to learn there was no incentive for that extra 5%. The only incentive was no $28 in mortgage insurance, which was on the 15% down and not on the 20% down. As far as rate goes, there was no rate difference. It was the same exact interest rate. You will see certain buckets where if you did 25% down, slightly better. When I say slightly better, if it's 6.5 with 20% down, it might be 6,375 with 25% down. It's not a huge difference. Where I would see a bigger difference is on an investment property. Maybe on an investment property, you look at 20% versus 25%, and that might be as much as a 0.5% difference in rate, where the lender feels really good. Bigger down payment is less risk, so they're going to factor that in. It's a lot less dramatic for owner-occupied homes, more dramatic for investment properties. But the real thresholds are not, well, between 3 and 5%, there's a big difference on owner-occupied. And then 5, 10, 15, 20, not really a big difference. 25, a little bit better. 40%, a little bit better still. So hopefully that explains it. What you won't see, which I think somebody on the outside looking in might think could be possible, is 6.5% with one down payment and then 5.5% with a bigger down payment. Not that dramatic of a change. Great question. Thank you. Who else we got? I haven't even looked at these, to be honest. I'm just firing through them. What if the house doesn't appraise for the refinance? Well, proof that I haven't read these beforehand and prepared myself. I'm just doing these on the fly. I'm not sure if it must have been a refinance video I did. If the house doesn't appraise, then your SOL. But what is more often the case is, let's say that you've got a home that you owe $300,000 on, and you're doing a cash out refinance, and you expect it to appraise at $500,000. You're going to do a cash out refinance to $400,000, which is 80% loan to value. You're going to pull $100,000 in cash out. Well, you overestimated, like all homeowners do, where your house you think is always worth more than it truly is, and it appraises at $450,000. Now your max loan amount is $360,000, right? Because 80% loan to value. So in that case, it wouldn't blow up your refinance, but it would affect your ability to get $100,000 out. Now you can only get $60,000 out because it's appraised for $450,000 instead of $500,000. That's probably the more common scenarios. Hopefully that helps, Jackie. Thanks for the question. Is now a good time to do a HELOC or home equity loan? It definitely is, Carol. And I think this is a really common question. So I'm glad you asked it, because a lot of people are sitting in 2.5, 2.625, 2.75, 30-year fixed interest rates. There's going to be very few circumstances where you want to mess with that loan. Very few. So if you need 30, 50, 70,000 for an investment, for something else you're looking to do, I think home equity line makes a lot of sense. And there's a bunch of different home equity line products out there. I'm all about transparency. I'm all about what's doing right for the consumer. I've got a few products that work and that are best for consumer. When it comes to home equity line of credit, a lot of small credit unions, a lot of small banks offer some pretty good stuff. I just brokered one out where we actually got a pretty great deal for somebody where they got 30-year fixed money on a home equity line for, mid sixes. That's a pretty good looking loan. Other places where I can broker out home equity lines of credit, the rates are significantly higher than what you might be able to find at a local credit union or small bank. So I tell those small banks and credit unions, I'll refer you some business. You send me FHA or self-employed borrowers or stuff that you guys can't do. So certainly is a good time if you want to leave your first alone. Just be responsible and make sure you know what you're getting into. Some of those things are adjustable. Those can be scary. And you don't want to take out money for the sake of taking out money. That's another mistake I see people make. What's the deal with companies like Opendoor? I always see the commercials and they must be paying way under value. Alex, my dude, I did not see this until now, 3 months later. So my apologies, Cuzzo. I'll send you a text. This is an interesting one. Opendoor right now has a ton of inventory in Phoenix, Arizona, and Sacramento, California. They bought at $492, started at $525, went down to $500, went down to $485. They're selling stuff for less than they bought it for. So you would think, Alex, that they would like be paying way under value in order to make a profit on these deals. But I think in an attempt to like gain market share, they went out and paid retail prices for homes or even higher. A lot of cases where I think a property that I own, I got a wild offer where I'm like, they're really going to pay me that? And who knows what the play is? They own the title company. They make money there. They probably own whoever's doing what minor repairs they're charging you $8,500 for, because they'll get you, right? They'll give you a certain price and they'll ding you on repairs. So they've got other ways to make money, but still, I think what they're doing right now is a losing proposition. And they might be right behind their Zillow pals in exiting the market, realizing like, oh, this iBuying stuff ain't all it's cracked up to be. All right. Jose Negrete, thanks for following, bro. I appreciate you. Question, is 3,000 per point a ballpark figure for buying down the rate? So if current rates are 6%, the seller buys down 8 points. The new interest rate goes down to 4. What's the most points you ever seen somebody buy down? Okay. This has got a few different layers to it. So I'm glad you asked it because, I don't want to show that screen. That might be a compliance issue, but I'm going to price something because then I can give you some exact figures, exact numbers. There's no one size fits all. Investment property, different rate stack. Primary residence, different rate stack. 5% down, different. 10% down, different. 25% down, different. 680 credit score, different. 780 credit score, different. And so there's no one size fits all. 1 point is equal to 1% of the loan amount. So if you've got a $400,000 loan, 1 point is $4,000. If you've got $1 million loan, 1 point is $10,000. And so that's what a point equals. And really, like, this kind of stuff changes every day as far as how lenders price, depending on what coupon they're selling, it's going to adjust. So it's a pretty hard thing to nail down. But what I will tell you is I'm going to put in here $500,000 purchase, 20% down, and then I'm going to try to kind of demonstrate with real numbers what you can buy down. Before I do this, and as I wait for pricing to load, know that you can't generally pay more than 3 points. It's not going to pass what's called QM, qualified mortgage. And so you could have it on the rate sheet. You could have 8 points cost for that 4%. Doesn't mean that you're able to do it and actually close that loan. And that's the funny part too, is like your average drive-through graduate who just got done working 6 months at a drive-through is now ready for another job, is working at like a Quicken Loans call center, and they might propose something with 8 points that you can't even close, right? So just because it's on the rate sheet doesn't mean it's available. And just because some kid in a call center who just learned how to tie his shoes and just learned last week that mortgage has a T in it, like, not the person you want to listen to for mortgage advice. So enough shitting on Quicken. Let's get back to the point. Let's say that 6.875 is your interest rate where you don't pay any points. Paying 1 point on this $400,000 loan scenario, you're going to get down to about 6.375. Then the next point you pay, you'll be down to about 5.99. Notice what happened. The first point you paid, 6.875 to 6.375, was 0.5%. Then the next point you pay is only about 3/8. Now, from 5.99, you can pay a full another point and not even get a quarter. You'll probably be 5.8. So it's like the law of diminishing returns. And that's how rate sheets work, where it's not all like every point equals 0.5% in rate, or every point equals 0.3% in rate. Like I said, this is 760 credit score. If it's 680, it's going to be different. If it's an investment property, different. 10% down, different. So no rule of thumb, 1% of the loan amount is 1 point. And it's going to usually allow you to buy the rate down between 1/4 and 1/2 point. That's the only, thing that I could, that's a big enough bucket where I can say it's probably going to hold true. Each point after the first point, there's generally going to be a law of diminishing returns. All right. Who else we got? Fire the questions away. I think this is all I got from questions. Oh, then we got some YouTube live questions. These are a lot of questions. All right, let's get to your live questions. Let me know what questions you have if you're joining live. I'd love to answer these. John Nada, have you heard about the fixed rate HELOCs? What's your advice if you know about it? Would you recommend that or a second to finance an ADU in California? For sure, there's a lot of fixed rate HELOCs out there. Like I've got a lender, Remen, who I can broker these to. And they're good rates, like a 30-year fixed under 7%. And considering the fact that firsts are at pert near 7%, to get a 30-year fixed on what's essentially a second loan behind that first, it's a pretty good deal. Would you recommend that or a second to finance on ADU in California? There's really not a lot of closed-end seconds out there. And so, if you're going to finance an ADU, I don't know anything about like standalone financing for it. So this is probably a pretty good option for folks. A lot of the investors I know, if you're able to put an ADU in your backyard that gets $2,000 a month in rent, and you might be able to borrow, the 120 or whatever it is, as a home equity line of credit at 6.875, you're probably going to be, very cash flow positive on that. Again, it's not every area where that's going to make sense, but like near me, if you're doing, Airbnb to, traveling nurses, or you're just in an area that just demands $2,000 a month or $2,500 a month for a 2-bedroom, that could really be a home run. What else we got? Another opportunity to shout out the podcast. That's good. Get better every day. Joe does mortgages. Overbidding is back in New Jersey. LOL. Let me know what part of New Jersey. I think you sent me some Instagram messages. I just got one in a contract, New Jersey. If you don't know, me and my team are slowly but surely taking over. We got about 46 or 47 states. Ocean View, New Jersey, 08230. I don't know the specifics. My buddy Connor on the team is handling this one. But yeah, I think this one, I talked to him and certainly not getting all the concessions that some of the markets like Sacramento are getting, but nonetheless, yeah, it sounds like nicer parts of New Jersey and other parts of the country are not, you know, as buyer friendly as others. Okay, Jorge G Realty. I'm happy to do this, brother. I think this is something that is important for sellers to really understand. The difference between somebody who's buying at 3% and somebody who's buying at 7%, even though, to be fair, Jorge, like nobody's writing loans at 7%. I shouldn't say nobody, right? Like very few are being written that high, but I guess, I mean, for example purposes, let's do it. Let me do this. Every state's going to be different with property taxes. I use 1.25% for property taxes because that's where property taxes are in California. I'm going to pull one up, and I'll even share it on the screen. This 3% versus 7% because I like the question. I think it's great. What is going on? Where are my scenarios at? We got too many pre-approvals in here. Purchase scenario templates. All right, 400K loan. 400K purchase or 400K loan? We'll do 400K loan. All right. Bear with me while I clean this puppy up. We got a 500K purchase price. And we got copy, paste. Watch this for dramatic effect. I'll share this. Bear with me. I'm going to make it big so we can see it. All right, 400K loan. Is my dome in the way? I got to move this. Well, I guess you can see it, right? I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully everyone can see this. I waited to put 7% in because I want the dramatic effect. This on the left, $500,000 purchase, just 20% down. 1.25% property taxes are auto-populated in there because most of California 1.25%. And $79 in homeowner insurance is probably a pretty good estimate. So here's 3%, $22.86. Now, you said you want to see 7%, Jorge. You ask and you shall receive. $32.61. Almost exactly $1,000 more. $975 more. And the crazy part about that is like $975 is a lot for anybody. For a first-time home buyer, to say your housing payment is going to be $1,000 more expensive. Audio issues, son of a gun. Is everyone having audio issues, or is it just LinkedIn? Let me close me some stuff. Some of them gun. I don't know if it's internet. Uh-oh. Why does that happen? Fixed? All fixed, Thomas. I closed a bunch of windows. I think it's internet. I'm not sure. But frustrating nonetheless. Damn technology. New office, December 1st. And I'm going to make sure we got the best internet in the land. Better or perfect? We want it to be dialed. Is it dialed? So here's something to look at, Jorge. 3% interest rate, 2286, right? That's for a $400,000 loan, 500K purchase. It's one thing to say, okay, it's $1,000 more expensive per month at 7%. What I try to look at for sellers to understand is, okay, seller, maybe you give a concession which pays for the buy down to get this client to 599. Now you're at 2996. It's still all right, Joey. Stick with me, bro. This is good stuff. As long as the audio cooperates. Audio good? Internet? Like it'll usually tell me on StreamYard if my internet is doo-doos. Oh, you know what? Here's what somebody told me last time. Is it when I share my screen, the internet goes to caca? Is that a professional word? Internet go doo-doos when I share my screen, and then when I don't share it, it's good. So I want to share. God, what's going on with the audio? I don't want to do too much crazy. All right. If it's if it's good now, I'll just not share the screen. I'll look at the screen. I'll share with you guys. 500K purchase, $400,000 loan, 2286, right? You go to 7%, it's almost $1,000 more. So what I need sellers to understand, and what I'm talking to agent partners about when I'm with agent partners, like, I don't know what's going on. No one's coming through my open house. No one's buying. It's $1,000 more expensive per month. That's why. But here's what you do to combat that, because we know what the problem is. The problem is affordability. The problem is monthly payment. Buyers buy based on monthly payment. They don't buy on price. They don't buy on anything except for like, hey, 2,800 is doable to me. 3,200? No, can't do it. 2,300 when rates are 3%? Fucking love it. Let's go. Right? So at 500 grand, you offer some concessions. You're able to buy them down to 5.99%. Now we're 29.96. We're getting better, but maybe that's not enough. Maybe you also got to lower your price to 475. Now 475 and some concessions to buy it down to 5.99. Now we're at 28.46, right? And so that's where we more than ever need buy agent, sell agent, loan officer, client, all getting together and saying, what can we do to make all parties happy? And that's really, like, we're doing more of that than we ever did before. We need seller concessions up to this amount to buy the rate down. We need the price to be this, because that's what makes that payment affordable. I agree with you, Jorge, that the problem is the interest, but there's solves for that, right? I can go over and run my pricer and say, hey, with $12,000 in seller concessions, I can get a buyer $499 in year one, $599 in year two, and $6.99 in year three. Maybe we do even more than that. Maybe we get, you know what, dude? Forget this audio, man. I'm done with it. I'll see you guys next Monday. Technology is frustrating AF. Hopefully we had some value in this thing. Hopefully it was good. I can't run a business with this shoddy audio. I'm out. Better again, Joey? All right, you tell me. I don't like, if I'm listening to a video, I cannot stand it when the audio sucks. Grant Cardone was introduced. Okay, I'm on it, Jorge. I'm going to do a video, I promise you, this week. Realtors, show this to your sellers. That's the title of the video. And tell me what else you want to see in that video so I could make it as good as possible. Because, versus like, hey, my neighbor sold for 500 grand. We've got to be able to show them, yeah, they sold a $2,300 a month payment. Now you're priced at 480 and you're wondering why you can't sell is because at 480 with the current interest rate, you're still a $3,000 payment. You're still a $700 difference. Sure, people can pay a little bit more and they can go a little bit higher in rate, but like there's got to be some way to solve for that. So yeah, let me know what else you can think of, Jorge, that would help for that video, and fire me an email, team@mtmg.com, and just title it like video for sellers. I'm probably going to record it in the next couple days for sure. It's a great video. I agree. Like it's something that sellers need to see, and it'll probably help some of these conversations because a realtor can only say it so many ways. Sometimes they need to hear it from somebody else. I'm happy to, record that and share it because there is definitely a separation between what a seller expects and a little unrealistic on their side, and then buyer too, where buyers are thinking that they can just offer 100,000 less no matter what something's priced at. Oh, sorry, Joey. This question came up and I dodged you. What kind of programs do you think FHFA or lenders are going to come out with for first-time home buyers? There's probably going to be programs that help folks. More often than not, down payment is the big hurdle, right? And so a product like EPMs that's going to be a true down payment grant there'll be more of those. Lending is never going to be as irresponsible as it was 15 years ago. Let's hope that we all learned our lessons. And so I don't expect there to be 100% financing, low credit score and all the other stuff. But there's certainly a place in the market for if you got great credit and you've got, a stable job, we can give you a grant for down payment. We can give you assistance with down payment. EPM's product is a true grant, goes away right away. And so there's, more of that stuff coming along. Usually, in order to impact the areas they want to impact, it's going to be certain census tracts, certain income levels, first-time home buyers, people who work in the communities like teachers and firefighters and stuff like that. So that stuff's out there, and I see more of it. Rob, I don't see the 40-year mortgage coming. Special shout to my boy, Dale Della Quadri, one of the best account executives in the business. Probably since you were the first account executive I have, Dale, can just attribute all my success to your teachings, right? It really was a pleasure knowing me. So hit me up, man. We got to get some lunch. It wasn't that long ago when I was a pup in this business. Some might still consider me a pup. Only been in it for 8 years, but the amount of work I put in the last 8 years, since I've been working 5 times as hard as everybody else, it equates to 40 years. Because 5x the amount of work times the 8 years I've been doing it, I'm a 40-year veteran on some scales. So I'm going to shoot you a text, buddy. Great to see you here. Great to see you continuing to do the great work you do, my man. Joey Garessi. It definitely would help. You know what's funny too is I was a big proponent of 40-year mortgages because it's like 40-year mortgage is probably a better option than some of the down payment assistance stuff. Some of the down payment assistance stuff is like, hey, we'll give you your down payment, but we'll charge you extra and we'll give you a higher interest rate, and it's all kinds of nasty, versus maybe, just maybe, you help somebody get on that first rung of the ladder of home ownership. And that's what it's all about with a lot of these programs, right? Is in some communities, some people just never get a chance to step on the ladder. So if you can put them on the ladder by saying, hey, here's a 40-year mortgage, and instead of $2,600 a month, I've still got my sheet open, and like a 475 purchase. If the rate was 6.5% and somebody was like, I can't afford $29.72 a month, I can go into my fancy calculator, instead of amortizing it over 360 months. If I put 480, aka 40 years, it brings that payment down a couple $100 a month, right? And so I think it's just a fine line, right, Joey? Because like, check this out, dude. That's pretty wild. That's $27.95 a month for a 475 purchase over 40 years at 6.5%. And the payment, 360 months, 10 full years, $29.72. It's only like $175 difference, but it stretches out. So like the 40-year mortgage truly is like a win for the bank, which like surprises me that more aren't doing it. The problem is that Fannie and Freddie, the people who are buying billions and billions of mortgages, from the people that I talk to, from what I've heard, never, ever going to do it. Anyhow, we shall see. It would be interesting. Oh, Jay, oh boy, this was a good decision right here. Took a break from when I got back into putting OfferSkin. Do I tell him I'm switching to Matt the Mortgage Guy? Well, I mean, this all depends too, right? If like you've worked with them for a long time, they put in a lot of work for you, and like it's a broker who's got the same options that I've got, that's a tough one for me, right? Like I'm a type of guy where people come to me like, oh, I'm working with, so-and-so down at this broker shop. And I'm like, it's a broker, as long as that person, each loan originator is different, right? If they've got a great team and great systems and great processes to give you a great client experience, they're brokering the same people I am. It's going to be the same terms, right? I think that's a competitive advantage to where like, I know I'm overstaffed by design. I have the best team in the business, cares about the client experience, cares about making sure that, every client is empowered through education, all the things, right, that align with my vision and my core values. And so I know you're going to get that when you work with the Matt the Mortgage Guy team. I'll leave it up to you. I'm less apt to really say like, hey, you got to connect with us. You got to work with our team if you already have been working with somebody for a prolonged period of time and it's a broker. If it's a retail lender, I'm like, yeah, I'm 0.5% better and less cost. Leave cross country behind. Tell Fairway farewell. But broker, it's different. All right, Joey, I got to wrap this puppy up. I got to get back to work. I think we got 3 in contract today. Here we go. Opportunities out there. We got to get conventional lenders doing the assist with seller financing along the lines of what Mike with ORAT is suggesting. 10% down from buyer, second from seller, and first from lender. I mean, I don't think this is as widespread as some people think. There are going to be opportunities for creative financing and creative investors to do creative things. Will it adapt at scale? I highly doubt it, right? You've got to find a seller that is willing to carry back, has enough equity to not only do that, but also not worry about using that equity going forward. The ones that are selling today, a lot of them are taking that equity and moving to Texas, moving to Tennessee, moving to Florida. There's not enough to where I think this is something that's like super widespread. Anyhow, I got to get to work. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys. Keep the questions coming. We'll see you next Monday. I've got an inspector from the Bay Area. We are going to talk about all the crazy shit that he saw in 2020 and 2021. People waived their inspections. They got into homes that had $200,000 worth of repairs, but they didn't have no inspections. They were SOL. All those crazy stories and more next Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Jorge, follow up, man. I'm going to make that video. I promise you that. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.